Hey team, good morning. It's Tuesday. I've got my pillow here that tells us today is a good day. So we can believe the pillow. Like affirmations in our decor. So I'm Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. I'm here with you on Tuesday mornings in English to talk through immigration news updates, how to interpret all the videos and headlines and everything that you're seeing. I'm here to answer your live questions about immigration cases. And I'm here to give you an action tip of the week so that you can stay civically engaged and feel like you are making a difference when you're running out of things to do. So that's why we're here. I'm going to get right to it. Thanks for being here with me. Top news of the week, Venezuelan TPS has ended. This is specifically for the first registration, the 2021 registration. So anybody who had TPS, your work permits have been essentially canceled. I do have some concerns that immigration authorities are going to go after Venezuelans who are losing TPS status. So if you are a Venezuelan, you have TPS, you're losing status, and you haven't done anything about it yet, please do reach out to my firm or an immigration lawyer that you trust. There are many good ones. But part of the problem with TPS ending and the way that the Trump administration is acting is that the list of people on TPS is a very easy list for them to go and target. These are people for whom they know place of employment, address, how to go and get them. And so once they revoke, it might be that they just start going after that community. We know that they've targeted Venezuelans in the past. So I have a lot of concern for Venezuelans who are losing status. And I think that there is reason to act very quickly. So consult with an immigration lawyer, and we can talk through what are some of the alternative options for Venezuelan and TPS status. Maybe it's employment. Maybe you can apply through family. Maybe you have a humanitarian case, like a trafficking case. Maybe you have an asylum case. Many Venezuelans fled political persecution or fear political persecution. These are all alternatives to TPS, and you can have two cases pending at the same time with immigration. So if you have TPS, you can apply for something else, and or if you're losing TPS. So I really, really strongly urge Venezuelans in TPS to consult with an immigration lawyer. Next, we have another procurement document from ICE that has been uncovered in the press. This one is about a call center that they are intending to open that is going to help them locate missing unaccompanied migrant children. And this is one where I'm going to interpret the headlines for you, because you're going to hear from conservative news outlets or lazy reporters that ICE has, or during the Biden administration, all these children were lost and that they could be victims of trafficking, and that the Trump administration is doing good work in trying to locate and save these children. That's not actually true. And I know this up close and personal. As you know, I'm an immigration lawyer. I represented many of these children during the unaccompanied migrant surge in the Biden era. What happened is Biden lifted Title 42, but only as it applied to children. So a lot of parents sent their kids over alone, or a lot of kids who had been waiting to flee danger came in after Title 42 had been lifted. And many of them were held in pretty egregious detention settings in these like processing centers. They didn't have communication with their families. It was a really traumatic experience for a lot of these children. And so when they were finally released to their families, of course, they're in removal proceedings and they're expected to continue to communicate with ICE and let them know what's going on. But many of these children, because of their traumatic experience, don't want anything to do with ICE, understandably. And so they haven't continued to follow up and notify ICE of their location. Well, ICE has twisted that reality and sold everybody a bill of goods saying that like all of these children are trafficked and we're actually here for the benefit of the children. That's not true. We know that ICE under the Trump administration is trying to locate these children so that they can deport them. they're trying to find them and deport them. And we've seen them do this already, right? There was that plane full of Guatemalan children who were, stopped in the middle of the night by a federal court order from being deported. So the Trump administration is opening up a call center in which they are going to receive reports from probably the general public, local law enforcement about the whereabouts of missing children. But don't be fooled. They are looking to target and deport unaccompanied migrant children who have, for the most part, chosen to not communicate with ICE for obvious reasons. Next, this one gets me. DHS and CBP, they are just in love with their zero border crossing data. And they are going to just talk about that all day long as if it is the greatest success in, human history. That is not accurate. What is accurate is they shut down the border to asylum seekers and people who have a legal reason to cross, and they are just rejecting people, and we're not following our own laws. And also, I have suspicions about the data. Let me just say that. Finally, actually, two more things. Federal court actions and protests keep Chicago at the center of the enforcement debate. Ongoing enforcement and lawsuits and court orders are still centered in Chicago. That's sort of the focus right now of ICE. It moved from LA, Chicago. There's been some activity in Boston. I anticipate we're going to see stuff in New York. Do you guys like my t-shirt? But we'll start to see, I'm sure, some ICE activity in New York because of this election result and also just stated policy of the city. And then here's a bit of good news. In Dallas, the city council opted not to advance a proposal, a $25 million proposal of a partnership with ICE, because the police chief was very opposed to this alignment. And that tracks with a lot of law enforcement entities. Like these police chiefs and sheriffs who oversee large departments, by and large, are very opposed to a forced ICE partnership. And that's because they're strapped as it is, right? Policing the streets, patrolling the streets and working on, reducing crime. And they need a good relationship with the community. They need the immigrant community or the Latino community to know they are safe to interact with law enforcement. And in the state of Texas, that's 40% of people. 40% of people in the state of Texas are Latino. 1 in 3 households in the state of Texas speak Spanish, primarily in the home. And if we have that many people, almost half of the people in the state, terrified of interacting with law enforcement, guess what happens? Law enforcement can't do their job. They can't receive reports of crime. They can't help domestic violence victims. They can't investigate crime. It's bad news for everybody. And that's why Dallas rejected that partnership. And I think that is great news and very brave of Dallas City Council. Well done, Dallas. So I'm going to read, this is a Spanish question. I will repeat it in English. This is from Willie and TikTok. Tengo una pregunta acerca de cómo es el proceso al contratar un abogado de inmigración y qué tan seguros deberían estar las personas al contratarlos. Ahora la comunidad está vulnerable a las estafas. Tenemos que cuidarnos de la policía, algunos abogados estafadores. ¿Cómo podemos contratar el abogado correcto? Muy buena pregunta, porque apenas ayer estaba revisando mensajes de text de un cliente nuevo que esta persona supuestamente había recibido de un abogado con recibos de inmigración que eran falsos. Y esta es la tercera vez que yo lo he visto como ejemplos de ese tipo de estafa en los últimos 2 semanas. Entonces, sí tiene que tener mucho cuidado. Las recomendaciones que yo tengo es chequear el nombre del abogado en el sitio de la barra de abogados. Por ejemplo, yo soy Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch y soy licenciada en el estado de Texas. Entonces, si ponga mi nombre, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, con el State Bar of Texas, la barra de abogados, va a salir mi página que dice que no tengo disciplinaria, etcétera, que tengo licencia vigente para practicar, para ser abogada en el estado de Texas. Entonces, esa es una manera de averiguar que un abogado es real. Otra cosa que puede hacer es chequear sus reseñas online. En Google, en Facebook, etcétera. y tener una conversación por video por lo menos. Si no vas a tener una cita en persona, eso está bien. Nosotros tenemos muchos clientes que solo son virtuales, pero debe poder tener una cita por video, por Zoom, con su equipo, con su abogado para averiguar que son real y ellos deben de poder demostrar su número en su estado donde están licenciados. This is a question that is a really good question. This is a question about, okay, the immigrant community is super vulnerable right now, and there's a lot of estafas, scams. So there's a lot of scams going on. And how do we know if we're being scammed? And I think this is such a timely question because I'm not kidding you guys. I have seen 3 examples of scams in text message form just in the last 2 weeks alone. Just last night, I was texting with someone who was trying to help their friend, and they sent me this series of text messages that this woman had received. This is a woman who had applied for a green card with an attorney, and this attorney had taken her money and sent her receipt notices that were completely fake. They were completely fabricated. And I could tell because the formatting was just a little bit wonky and the font was off. Like, I've seen enough of these receipt notices that I know exactly what they look like, but a layperson wouldn't be able to recognize this. So it's really important, number one, that you only work with attorneys and not notarios and not forms preparers, because you're only protected by the law license of an attorney if they are a licensed attorney, right? Otherwise, you have no protection. Like, if they completely mess up your case and get you put in removal proceedings, you have no recourse if they weren't an attorney. If they were an attorney, you can file a complaint and be like, I put my life in the hands of an attorney, and now I should get another shot at my case because they messed it up. But if you made the decision to put your life in the hands of a person who is not an attorney, under the laws, there's no recompense for you if a mistake was made. That's number one. So attorneys only, especially now, because the immigrant community is super vulnerable. And unfortunately, there are more and more scams when a community is vulnerable, because fear makes people sort of skip, safety measures. And so, number one, make sure it's an attorney. Number two, check out that attorney on the state bar. Every single attorney has to be licensed in one of the states, okay, in order to practice law. So I'm licensed in the state of Texas. And so if you Google my name, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, State Bar of Texas, you'll see on the state bar's website my profile, that it'll have like a little green light because it'll say I'm licensed to practice and I don't have a disciplinary record. You can totally check me out. You can also look on Google. What are my Google reviews? I'm very proud of our Google reviews. We have a 4.9 star rating with thousands of reviews from our actual clients. That's a great way to see. You can go to Facebook, check out your lawyer and make sure they're a real lawyer. And then if you're not going to meet with them in person, which is fine, it's a virtual world, meet with them via video, see their face. Don't just do everything by phone. Make sure that that lawyer is the same as the one that they say they are online, so that you don't have some person, pretending to be that lawyer, right? So make sure you see their face. Those are all of the ways that I would say protect yourself. Marissa, what are some ways we can support immigrants as regular citizens? Thanks so much for asking that. Watching this, sharing this content, staying informed, watching the videos that are coming through of your feed that are distressing, commenting on them, expanding the conversation around the immigration crackdown, and not getting ourselves desensitized or ignoring it. I literally talk to someone every single day who says to me, I just stopped paying attention because I couldn't take it anymore. Well, that's acquiescence. So actually staying engaged, even if it hurts your heart, is number one. And then we know all the regular ways. Number one way to engage yourself civically is to vote. So register to vote, and then volunteer to get other people registered to vote, and then do other, volunteer activities. Right now, there's still some people who are suffering with food insecurity. So volunteering at a food pantry. And then if you know an immigrant, supporting immigrant-owned businesses, restaurants, stores, giving them 5-star Google reviews, showing them your love and support. And then if you know an immigrant up close and personal, ask them how they're doing, let them know you support them, and then offer to help them if they need help with something. Those are some of the top ways. Jay Pintorres, Can you take a pro bono case? We do have definitely pro bono program in my law firm. The best thing to do is to reach out for a consultation. Our consultations are free right now for everybody. So we will at least be able to determine what type of case you have. I will say it's really hard right now to find pro bono detained lawyers. And the reason for that is that these detention centers are really far out in the middle of nowhere. We don't have access like we used to. And the organizations that were providing nonprofit support for people in detention have lost all of their funding. So everything is falling on the private bar to help people in detention. And we're really strapped out because so many people are getting picked up. So it's a hard time to find pro bono support, legal support on a detained case. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's really difficult. So if somebody is not yet detained and you're thinking about what am I going to do, like really do have a rainy day fund if you can, save up your money for if somebody gets detained, because it does cost a lot of money and you don't want to be in the situation where somebody's detained and nobody has the money to fight it. So to the extent you can save money and not, get the new car, whatever the big thing is, the next big purchase that you were going to make in your life. If you are vulnerable to immigration detention, keep some of that money safe. And most of the immigrants I know in this situation are actually really financially responsible and have a lot of money in savings. That's been something that I've noticed over the years. Native born Americans, we tend to live in a world of credit and we just put things on our credit card and we finance our cars and we run with like low cash reserves. And it's just a way that a lot of people who are born here live. Immigrants tend to be much more cautious and safe and don't do life on credit in the same way, which can be a helpful thing when you find yourself in a situation. Also, immigrant communities are very good about supporting each other. So a lot of help and support within the community, which is very wonderful to see. And so I'm going to wrap now because I have to go. But let me give you your action tip of the week. Today is Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. So let's do something simple today. Why don't you find a veteran that you know and thank them for their service? They could use all of our love and support today. So it's an easy one. Let's get her done. Nos vemos el jueves en español. Thanks, guys.